We are about to embark on an immersive journey through the corridors of our minds. Stand by as we prepare for departure.
Welcome aboard, everyone, to the Productivity with Peace of Mind podcast adventure. Our journey will begin in just a moment. Inhale deeply and exhale. Our voyage takes us on a captivating tour, diving deep into the intricate layers of our thoughts and imagination. Brace yourselves for the complexities of our evolution. For a safe and enjoyable journey, stay seated, secure your helmet and protective goggles, and keep hands, feet, and legs inside while the ride is moving. Now relax and enjoy.
What if I told you you could achieve your goals and accomplish anything that you want and make it effortless? Today, I want to talk about a concept that I came up with years ago as a yoga teacher, and I taught this to all of my students. I called it effortless intention. And if you think about in your yoga class, you're using your hands and your arms, right? You're doing different poses, but think about what you do with your hand. So there are people who will, they're really pushing and gripping and the fingers are wide apart. It's kind of like a gripping. So if you take your hand right now, make a fist and you pull it all the way together and you tighten your fist really, really tight. What does that feel like? It's like stressful, right? It's almost a desperate energy. It's strained. It doesn't feel great. Then take your hand and make it totally loose. Because there's people who use their hands that way in yoga. They're just kind of floppy and loose. And that doesn't feel good either because there's no intention to it. It's just kind of meaningless, right? Your hands aren't doing anything purposeful. But then if you just take your hands and it's not forced, but it's not loose. This is what your hand would look like properly in a yoga class. So let's say I'm in, warrior 1 and I'm holding my fingers out, holding them intentionally, right? That's the intention piece. But it's also kind of effortless because I'm not having to think that hard or work that hard on where my fingers are going or where my hands are. So when you look at that and compare that to life, how do you show up in life? Are you gripping and strained and bringing desperate energy to what you're doing? Or are you super floppy and loose and not really putting any intention or thought into what you're doing? You're just kind of showing up, winging it. And it's not going very well for you. Which which one do you think that you are showing up as in life? So that's effortless intention. And the importance of understanding what we're doing and why really comes down to being able to get where we want to go. So if you have a result that you don't like or you are not happy with, you can look at your actions and how you're showing up and the things that you're doing and what you're putting out into the world and make a change. But you also can't just change it that quickly either. So when you take a look, you become the witness and you look at what you're doing and you sort of explore and uncover and unpack bit by bit and start to understand this this kind of your awareness of yourself, and you look at what that looks like. And you then, after you realize what you're doing and why, that's when you can really look at your intention and figure out what you want and how you're going to get there. And intention is important because let's say you want to drive your car to another state, but you get in your car and you just start driving. You don't pull up a map. You don't, whether it's a paper map or a Google map or some kind of digital map, you don't look at one And you just start driving and think, well, I hope I get there. Well, you set your intention, but are you really clear on how to get there? So it's important to have clarity the entire journey along the way. You want to be clear on where you want to go, but you also need to be clear on your path to get there. You don't have to know every single how, you don't have to know every single step of the way, but you do need some sort of plan and some sort of guidance because you might run into construction. You might run into a roadblock, and that will slow you down, or you'll have to veer around or take a different path. And that's okay, but you're still going to get there because you had a plan, because you had your map ready. And now let's talk a little bit about numbing. And so when we have a journey, we have a goal, there's a lot of emotion that can come up for us, a lot of different feelings, a lot of different thoughts. And that's normal. It's there for us to process. If we numb with alcohol or food or sugar or TV or whatever your vice might be, you're not going to feel the emotion, which means you're not going to be clear on what it is you want, and you're not going to get there. So it's really important to not numb it out, to feel it, because life is beautiful. There's so much depth and meaning to what we have here and what we're experiencing and living through. And numbing it is not going to give you that rich experience that you might be looking for. So when we look at awareness and our self awareness and how we see ourselves and understanding how others see us, it's really important because if we don't know how we may be perceived or how our actions are then relating to our results, we can't make any tweaks. Do you see how that works? So if you, let's say you walk into a construction site and it's not working, it's a mess, they haven't reached the outcome and it's not getting there. And maybe you're their director or you're their boss and you walk in, but you have no idea what relates to what the tools are. You can't give any guidance. You cannot help them solve the problem. And so the same goes within ourselves. We cannot solve a problem we don't understand the pieces of. So being super aware of our intricacies and how we work as a human, understanding how we see the world, the lens in which we look at everything through really helps us and also gives us compassion and clarity when we're dealing with other people, because of the better you understand yourself, the better you understand other people. And you start to see patterns in their motivations and the reason they do different things. This really helps in how you navigate, your relationship with family or friends or at work. This is really gold. Because once you can learn how to understand that, you can communicate better. And I always say, so many of our problems could be solved through communication. And I've seen it time and time again at work, in relationships, any situation you can imagine. Better communication always gives us better results. So, as you get more clear on who you are, what you want, what you're doing, and why, you can really kind of pick out and choose or identify what you're already noticing, your values. So when you know your values, you get even more clear. I do something every year, and I'll probably do another episode on this, but it's called the Word of the Year. And this is kind of your higher level vision and North Star of where you want all of your personal and professional goals to fall under and work towards. So it's very easy to then see, okay, yes, this thing over here falls under my big picture vision. This thing over here doesn't, it's got to go. It helps you make decisions much more easily. And so when you know your values, your higher level values, all of your actions can really line up well with that. And something else that can come up for us is resistance on any journey. And we've talked about this before, but resistance really is a normal part of the journey. It is not your enemy. It's something you can feel through and understand that it's okay. You're going to feel doubt. You're going to feel fear. That is your human survival brain, not caught up with technology, not yet caught up with the civilization of the world that we have around us today. Our brain still functions as if we live way back in the caveman land, running from tigers, hunting for our food. And that's okay. But being aware of that really helps us move forward. So, how do we pull in the effortless part of this? The term is effortless intention. So, we talked about our intention and how to get really clear on that. But what about the effortless piece? How do we make that effortless? Once you grow in your self awareness and you get really clear on what you want and you understand your values, you can start to then build systems. So when you say, here's my North Star, here's where I want to go, you can work backwards and build out a plan for yourself, build out a system step by step, so that every day you're showing up and doing exactly what you wanted to do. And not another year will go by where you're like, darn, again, I set that goal and I didn't do it. That will never happen again when you build these systems for yourself and are able to set yourself up for success in a way that it is so easy to follow. You're not overexhausting yourself and you are following within the guidelines that yourself set for yourself. So you want to set your future self up for success. And that is exactly what you're doing. So that is ultimately what effortless intention is. You understand where you're going. You understand who you are, what you really want. You make a plan for it, build in the system that sets yourself up for success. And it's so easy to follow. You show up every day. I do it. I show up every day, and my systems that I have show me exactly what I need to do. And I move toward my goals because of it. And I can easily check things off. Again, not just to check it off, but to move the needle towards what really means the most to me and my goals. This year, I'm really focusing on getting my health back. I had an injury a couple years back and gained some weight and not feeling great about it, not feeling good about my level of fitness that I'm at now. And I'm working actively every single day. And it shows up on my system and on my list of exactly what I need to do. And I follow it, and it's seamless. At the end of the year, this year, I'm going to be feeling like a completely different person because of that. The same goes for writing my book and starting this podcast and all of the other projects that I have going on. It's because I make it effortless for myself. So I want you to take away a couple of things. Get really, really clear on what you want. And if you don't know what that is, go grab my Find Your Focus worksheet. It's linked on all of my pages. I'll put it in the show notes as well. But you can grab that worksheet and start working through what goals you really do want. Okay, so that's the first piece. I want you to get really clear on what you want and start noticing what you're doing and why, and if that's in line with what you want. And then we'll talk about later about how to really make that effortless and how to break that down and make it so simple that you're not using any extra time or energy. You're actually using your time and energy towards the things that matter the most to you. And then that's when you move the needle. Let's do this. Thank you for braving the inside of your mind with me. The better we understand ourselves, the more deeply we understand the world. And as our awareness grows, life just gets better and better. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to leave a review and share this with anyone else you think could benefit from listening. A quick reminder that the content shared in this podcast is for informational purposes only. I am not a licensed therapist, and the discussions here are not a substitute for professional advice. If you're dealing with a specific issue or need personalized guidance, please consult with a qualified professional. Your well-being is important, and this podcast is simply a platform for sharing insights and experiences. I appreciate you spending this time with me. Until next time.